If this right arm is getting on top, that brings left into play. If you never want to see a ball left, we got to figure out how to exit with the right arm under longer. Because if you do that, you'll never hit a hot pull left again. There's this thing in golf called depth. It's how far your hands move in this direction. As you take this club away, we notice that your club actually loses a smidge of depth. I believe the lack of depth leads to that move. It's kind of like a tip back.
Yeah.
A lowering and a tip back. Because you got it back inside. Most people would say, hey, isn't that great? His club head's inside of his hands. I go, yeah, but at what cost?
Yeah.
What did we do to get it there? That, to me, is a really hard place to rotate from. And because it's a really hard place to rotate from, it's really hard to keep it off the left side of the golf course.
Yeah.
We got to figure out how to leverage our pivot better to create more depth so that we can shallow the club, not with this tip down backup move, but the club will shallow on itself, which should afford you the opportunity to rotate and move around. If you rotate and move around, then you can eliminate the left side of the golf course. Turn and touch the wall. It's exactly what it sounds like. You just turn and touch the wall. You're going to get in your setup, backside barely on or off the wall. What I want you to do, using your hips, how do you get your hands to get to the wall? Because where do your hands get? Up. Your turn. Turn and touch the wall. You didn't get to the wall. Come on. Turn and get there. Crank it. There you go. That's awesome. So, how do we turn and touch the wall so that we don't have to lean back to shallow the club? That's really what we're trying to figure out today, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not that you weren't shallow. You were. You did it in this lean back way, and I believe that's where your misses come from, the lean back. We're gonna put this right over top of your right shoulder.
Okay.
So if you look in the back mirror, see how that sits right on top of your shoulder? If you lift your arms, what's gonna happen? You're gonna hit it, right? So let's just start, good setup, turn and touch. This is cool. I mean, night and day different. Now, you could see this in a couple ways. There's more extension and more daylight between your knees. I'm a fan of that. But those two guys are playing from different places. Mm-hmm. Now, we still got to figure out how to not tip from there, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add one more little piece to this. We're gonna add a shaft back here. Not for your takeaway, not because I think you're cheating your takeaway, because we got to figure out how to transition more on top. Because this guy had to tip back to get that club shallow. Mm-hmm. Well, if you tip back from there, your club's going to be back here.
Yeah.
And that's not very functional either. How are you going to turn and touch the wall? Okay. Now turn and stay on top of the stick. Hold it. And the reason is, what we're gonna learn, I might as well skip forward here a step and just do it all at the same time. From there, how do we then go, let me see your club, stand back there. How do we turn and touch the wall to allow us to stay on top of it instead of lean back? And from there, how are you gonna trace the stick as I exit? If I do those things, I would never hit some sort of hot pull something left. How do you turn and touch, stay on top, rotate through? Because if you do that, you'll never hit a hot pull left again. Okay. So do what I just did right there. Take it up to the top, turn and touch that wall. Great. Down in front of you. Yep, now turn and exit. Great job. Look at the depth your hands get right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen your takeaway look like that? I think
Probably not since I was a kid.
I think that's pretty good. Yeah. I think that's really good. I do. Structure at the top. It's pretty good right there.
Yeah.
This is the part we're learning. How do we stay on top? Ooh, see?
A little close.
Yeah, but look at, see how where your body is?
Yeah.
It's not that
Yeah.
tip back look, is it? Now from there, we got to learn how to get down to the ground. But look at this club as it exits.
Way better.
I mean, I don't know how you'd hit a ball left doing that. It's this scrunched up look, tip back, and then see that right arm just go flying on top.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if you want to get rid of the right arm toss, we got to give you a reason to never right arm toss it. Well, what would that be? Well, we have to shallow the club without using our body to shallow it, right? And so, because when it got back here, you had to hit it, and so you had to hit it with your right arm. What if you could hit it, feel like you're hitting it more with your pivot?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you went, well, shoot, this is exiting over here, and man, it'd be really hard to hit it left.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. Nope. See the right arm?
Yeah.
It's on top. Now again, not way left, but it was left. So when you exit, right, how do you keep that right arm under longer? And that's where tracing the stick comes in. Turn and touch the wall, stay on top on the way through. Great job. See how the right arm was more under?
Yeah.
See, to me, if you never want to see a ball left, we got to figure out how to exit with the right arm under longer.
Yeah.
If this right arm is getting on top, that brings left into play. Really good backswing. Not as clean of a downswing, a little bit of your old move in there.
Yeah.
There you go. A little bit of the old downswing in there. Nice. Really liked where that arm exited. Let me see that club, let's review. So what we said, the challenge for you was you didn't have a lot of depth. And because you didn't have a lot of depth, you had to kind of use this kind of scrunch, tip, tilt action to do it. Now, it accomplished the objective. It got the club back inside, but you're not really in a position to hit a golf ball with your pivot from there, so you kind of had to extend this right arm and almost punch the golf ball. And that's where, for a guy who hates to see a ball go left, that's a tough place to play golf from.
Yeah.
So the first thing we did is we said, what would it be like to get deeper? And we gave you a drill, and your first thought was, whew, that's a stretch. Probably why you didn't instinctively get deeper, because it wasn't overly comfortable.
Yeah.
But we said, okay, how do we do that and not tip back? That's what this stick is for. It's just to keep the old pattern from creeping in. But the big thing for you is about what we call tracing the stick, keeping the right arm under longer. That's the anti-left. That's the freedom that we want you to play golf with.